Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, FY24 National Initiatives, Law Enforcement Training and Technical Assistance, hosted by the Bureau of Justice Assistance. At this time, it's my pleasure to introduce David Adams, Senior Policy Advisor with BJA, to begin the presentation. David.
Thanks, Daryl. My name is David Adams, and I'm a Senior Policy Advisor at the Bureau of Justice Assistance. I will oversee this solicitation while it's open. And my regular portfolio of work includes the Stop School Violence Program, as well as the Center for Task Force Training, or CENTEF, in the BJA Policy Office. Next slide. We'll go over the program overview, the eligibility and application requirements. We'll provide some application resources, and at the end, we'll have an opportunity for questions and answers. Next slide. OJP is one of three grant-making components of the U.S. Department of Justice. BJA is one of 6 bureaus in the Office of Justice Programs. The other two are the Office for Violence Against Women, or OVW, and the Community Oriented Policing Services Office, or COPS office. Next slide. The Bureau of Justice Assistance was created in 1984 to reduce violent crime, create safer communities, and reform our nation's criminal justice system. BJA strengthens the nation's criminal justice system and helps America's state, local, and tribal jurisdictions reduce and prevent crime, reduce recidivism, and promote a fair and safe criminal justice system. BJA focuses its programmatic and policy efforts on providing a wide range of resources, including training and technical assistance, to law enforcement, courts, corrections, treatment reentry, justice information sharing, and community-based partners to address chronic and emerging criminal justice challenges nationwide. Next slide. BJA supports the field through investments with grants like we'll be discussing today, sharing knowledge through training and technical assistance, and engaging with stakeholders in criminal justice through various methods, either through listening sessions, working groups, or even large conferences. Next slide. Now I'll go over the various aspects of the law enforcement TTA program solicitation. Next slide. This solicitation is seeking to fund 4 national training and technical assistance TTA programs to support law enforcement and criminal justice stakeholders. It includes 4 separate categories. Each category represents one of the 4 projects. Next slide. As with all of OJP solicitations, there are 2 application deadlines. The first deadline for this solicitation is August the 5th, which is the grants.gov deadline, where you'll submit the SF424 and SFLLL forms. The second deadline is the Just Grants deadline, where you'll submit the remaining components of your application, and that deadline is August the 12th at 8:59 p.m. Eastern Time. Next slide. As I mentioned, the solicitation has 4 categories, each representing a separate project. Category 1 is the Enhancing Task Force Leadership, Operations, and Management Project, also known as the CENTEF program. This is a recompetition of this program, as is required periodically by OJP. We're specifically looking for a provider that can do the following: provide specialized TTA services on task force leadership to local, state, and tribal law enforcement throughout the United States, provide semi-annual reports to BJA listing all graduates from the training, broken out by type of task force and source of BJA funding, ensure training for all task forces are focused on performance management. The training should assist task forces with developing and implementing robust performance measures that orient activity toward reducing crime. You'll also be required to maintain a restricted access website that offers the above referenced described training as well as additional resources. You'll be required to coordinate peer-to-peer technical assistance, which may include on-site visits or innovative uses of technology to connect peer-to-peer. offer services in accordance with adult learning theory and that use a variety of delivery methods. This includes, but not limited to, leveraging a variety of online services such as webinars, podcasts, a learning management system, teleconferencing, and other technologies for delivery of technical assistance. And finally, the provider will be required to maintain a cadre of subject matter experts approved by BJA and conduct curricula enhancements to ensure that the training reflects the latest trends and emerging issues, recent case study examples, sophisticated multimedia aids, and any other relevant data. Next slide. Category 2 is a specialized units TTA. This is a new project for BJA. We're looking for a provider to specifically develop standards that can be used by local law enforcement agencies in the creation of specialized units. The provider will coordinate with BJA staff to stand up a web page that can be connected to BJA's Law Enforcement Knowledge Lab that provides standards, best practices, and guidance to the field on specialized units, and provide TTA to local law enforcement agencies requesting assistance with creation and/or evaluation of their existing specialized units focused on violent crime reduction and street crime suppression. Next slide. Category 3 is a Crime Gun Intelligence Center TTA. We're looking for a provider that will work with BJA CJIC site grantees. In collaboration with BJA and as partners at ATF, the provider will provide Crime Gun Intelligence Center or CJIC grantee sites and other selected agencies with proactive and on-demand training and technical assistance, including practical guides and checklists, technical briefings, and training. This assistance will be made available to law enforcement, investigative and prosecution experts, forensics experts, technologists, and academic experts who can share unique insights into effective and efficient processes and approaches to prevent and reduce violent crime committed with firearms. They will also be responsible for providing site assessments and recommendations for new CJIC grantees and ongoing communication. They'll access all CJIC grantee sites using the CJIC subject matter experts and develop recommendations based on the assessments, as well as provide support to implement the recommendations. The provider will be required to conduct bi-weekly check-in calls with our CJIC grantee sites and organize peer-to-peer engagements between our CJIC sites. You'll organize an annual CJIC conference. You'll provide TTA to non-grantee sites requesting assistance with implementing CJICs. You'll collaborate with ATF field offices and BJA's assigned ATF agents. The provider is also required to develop educational publications and CJIC-related tools for the field, such as checklists, sample protocols, newsletters, and success stories. And the provider will be required to maintain a CJIC website where CJIC resources and information can be posted for stakeholder assistance. Next slide. Finally is Category 4, Police Recruiting and Retention Among Underrepresented Groups. This is also a new project for BJA. BJA is looking for a TTA provider that will establish a specialized technical assistance resource center dedicated to identifying, inspiring, and supporting the potential future law enforcement workforce and the next generation of law enforcement leaders, with an emphasis on those groups historically underrepresented in law enforcement. The provider will be required to develop a compelling call to serve national campaign and a supporting community strategy guidebook with identified roles and actions for stakeholders such as law enforcement agencies, elected officials, community groups, schools, businesses, universities, etc. Create a speakers bureau of credible messengers and champions from HBCUs, historically black colleges and universities, and partner communities to present to groups and provide guidance. Finally, the TTA provider will be required to develop and test various career pathway models at historically black colleges and universities to encourage and support student interest in law enforcement careers, to include internship opportunities. Next slide. Next, we'll talk about the eligibility applicants for each category, as there are some slight differences depending on the category you're applying. Next slide. Category 1, nonprofits having a 501c3 status with the IRS other than institutions of higher education, nonprofits that do not have a 501c3 status with the IRS other than institutions of higher education, for-profit organizations other than small businesses, and small businesses are allowed to apply for Category 1. Next slide. For Category 2, there's a slightly different group of eligible applicants: national nonprofit organizations, for-profit commercial organizations, including tribal nonprofit or for-profit organizations, as well as institutions of higher education, which include tribal institutions of higher ed that have expertise and experience in managing TTA for evidence-based criminal justice programs on a national scale. Next slide. Category 3 has a slightly larger group of eligible applicants: public and state-controlled institutions of higher education, nonprofits that have both a 501c3 status or do not have a 501c3 status, private institutions of higher education, for-profit organizations other than small businesses, and small businesses. And finally, next slide. Category 4, both types of nonprofits, those having a 501c3 as well as those who do not have a 501c3, Native American tribal governments that are both federally recognized and those that are other than federally recognized, private institutions of higher ed, public and state-controlled institutions of higher ed, for-profit organizations other than small businesses, as well as small businesses. Next slide. Now we'll discuss some application resources for applicants. First is the Application Resource Guide. The guide addresses a variety of policies, statutes, and regulations that apply to many OJP program applicants. You can find the guide at the URL on the bottom of the screen. Next slide. Next is the Just Grants Payment and Management System website. Here you'll find trainings and other resources that will help you navigate the Just Grants system in the event you're not familiar with that system. You can find the guide at the URL at the bottom of the screen. Next slide. On this slide is information if you need technical assistance with either grants.gov or the Just Grants system. BJA strongly recommends that you upload your application 72 hours prior to the deadline in the event that you experience technical issues, so that you'll have time for us to resolve those problems before the deadline. For technical assistance with submitting an SF-424 or the SFLLL in Just Grants, you'll contact grants.gov customer service hotline that is on the screen. There's also a way to contact them at support@grants.gov. The grants.gov support hotline operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, except for federal holidays. For technical assistance with submitting the full application in DOJ's Just Grants system or Just Grants, contact the Just Grants service desk at the number on the screen or at email at support@usdoj.gov. The Just Grants service desk operates 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday, and 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Saturday, Sunday, and federal holidays. Applicants must register with grants.gov at www.grants.gov/web/grants/registered.html prior to submitting an application. Next slide. On this slide, you have several ways that you can sign up for information from OJP that you can receive by email or through text messaging. You can receive OJP news releases, funding news and other newsletters by subscribing at www.ojp.gov/subscribe. Next slide. Here you'll find all of our social media and ways to follow us on Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter, and YouTube. You can also scan the QR code on the screen and subscribe to Justice Matters and News from BJA to receive the latest information from BJA and the field. Next slide. If you have additional questions about the solicitation after today, you can contact the OJP Response Center by email or by phone. Next slide. Just a reminder, there are dual submission deadlines. August 5th is the first deadline for grants.gov, and August 12th is the deadline to submit the full application in Just Grants. Next slide. One last time, here's the contact information for grants.gov technical assistance, as well as Just Grants technical assistance and the OJP Response Center. Now I'll take any questions that you may have about the solicitation.
Thanks so much, David. And for everybody on the call, I just want to reference that the PowerPoint recording and transcript will be posted. So if you need to go back to anything referenced today, you'll receive an email when that is posted and where to access it. If you do have a question, put it in the Q&A and we'll be glad to get to it. There's plenty of time left in today's webinar here. So David, go back to category 1 eligibility. Would small veteran-owned business that provides specialized law enforcement teams with TTA fall within that?
As long as they have the ability to do training and technical assistance on a national scale, as well as the ability to maintain a secured website as described in the solicitation.
That's all the questions in the queue at this time, but we've plenty of time here. So while we're waiting, I'll also put this up. So if we do conclude, if you have additional questions, you can definitely contact the OJP Response Center listed here at grants@ncgrs.gov. They'll work with David and BJ on submitting those responses as needed. So in the next question, not actual question, but a recommendation, if you could, just they wanted to review the eligibility in category 4, if you wouldn't mind, David.
Okay. So the eligibility.
I have the slide up.
Okay. So that's probably the largest eligibility, and so this has nonprofits that both have a 501c3 status with the IRS, other than institutions of higher education, as well as those who do not have the 501c3. Again, the institutions of higher education do not fall into that category. There is an eligibility for both private institutions of higher ed and public and state-controlled institutions of higher ed. I'm not really sure how universities are structured, so I don't really understand why they're left out of the nonprofits, but you are eligible as a university, whether you're a private university or a public university, for this category.
Can any of the funds be used to offer housing for the recruitment of these individuals?
That's a good question. That's not something that typically is an allowable use. So I guess I may need to get more information on that from the team that is actually going to be overseeing this program, and I can get back to the applicant or prospective applicant on that.
Can this opportunity be used to improve the equipment of a current multi-jurisdictional task force?
No. This is to provide TTA to multi-jurisdictional task forces. It's not for local police agencies to receive funding to support a multi-jurisdictional task force. So this is to deliver training and technical assistance under the CENTEF program that we currently operate at BJA to do those things that are listed in the solicitation.
And I put a link in the chat for everyone. It's a solicitation overview, essentially a 2-page overview of the full application, kind of snapshot. Those are new this year and really, really good to reference if you have just general questions on it. Clarification on category 2 eligibility. It specifically only says for-profit. So the assumption is for-profit small businesses are not eligible.
They're not listed as being eligible. Again, that is a new project, and that was the eligibility that was provided to me by the individual that will be overseeing that project. So it's specifically those 3 that are listed on the screen.
Waiting for some other questions to come in. David, I'll put this up again as well. You mentioned it. Very important, obviously. The 2 dual deadlines, grants.gov August 5th at 8:59 Eastern PM and Just Grants August 12th. So if you don't make it the first deadline, you're unable to move on to that second. So that grants.gov deadline is crucial with your application.
And again, BJA always recommends that you attempt your submission at least 72 hours before the deadline, so that should you encounter any technical issues, we can hopefully get those fixed before the deadline.
Okay, that seems to be the end of the questions in the queue so far. Actually, one more's come in, David. So would it be possible to use this opportunity to provide a grant manager position to oversee the management for identifying agencies that are underfunded?
What specific category are they referring to?
For that person, if you, category 1, they just clarified.
No, that is not. Again, this is a TTA provider that is doing specific training as outlined by the CENTEF program. And in the solicitation, we actually have a link to the current program so that you can see just what the program entails. But it is not an opportunity for an agency to, this is a national TTA training and technical assistance program. So TTA providers for BJA go out into the field and deliver various types of training, both online as well as in person, and that's what this specifically is for.
Someone asked where we would be posting this presentation. I'll go ahead and put it back in the chat. There's a funding webinar section to BJ's website, and it'll also be located within the solicitation link as well, but you'll be able to find everything there. Once everything's posted, an email will go out to the registration list, so you'll be notified. Okay, and then just reiterating again, if we do conclude, if you do have additional questions, the OJP Response Center listed here will be who you'll want to contact, along with Just Grants and Grants.gov if you have any technical questions relating to those systems.
Daryl, just for that prospective applicant that asked about the housing for Category 4, I will reach out to my colleague and have that question and an answer submitted to the response center so that they can have an answer ready if they want to contact the response center. And I'd say give me a couple of days to get that done into the response center.
Great. Okay, I don't think there's anything else in the queue at this time. Also put this back up. Subscribe if you want to keep up to date with BJ happenings, whether it be funding opportunities, program information, resources. You can subscribe and get that information. Okay, anything in closing you wanted to mention to everyone, David, or that we could probably conclude?
just thank everyone for your time. I know that, everyone's busy, and taking, 30, 45 minutes out of your time to listen to a webinar to get, your questions answered is just, it's not something that you can always factor into your day. So thank you for your time and your questions. And if there's anything that you need about the solicitation, please reach out to the OJP Resource Center or Response Center. And if you'll be able to watch this as often as you like, if you want to go back and get specific information related to resources we have available for applicants at BJA and OJPs. Thank you.
Great, thanks so much. So on behalf of the Bureau of Justice Assistance and our panelists, we want to thank you for joining today's webinar. This will end today's presentation.